let me go around! This deck couldn't let me go around!
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-minute testing. Inside you are two wolves. One is SEO poisoned and recognizes you're going to have to pay lip service to the Machina structure. The other is a competent Yu-Gi-Oh player that realizes there's exactly one playable card in Konami's newest product. You are a Yu-Gi-Tuber. And today, you're playing Machina INFINITRACK Trains. Before we begin, if you're on the fence about subscribing, let me sweeten the pot for you. If you click that little button down there, I promise the next slide will not include Pot of Extravagance. So here's the list, and you have no idea how much it pains me to play an archetype without my old pal Potty. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is brought to you by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is an online strategy site for our mutual favorite card game. It's got a deck builder, card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. It's also where I post the Quarantine series deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. Now, for the second time in as many days, let's take a look at Machina. Machina is an archetype that I think is actually never played on screen in an episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, meaning the cards are free to be good. Historically, though, the only notable members of the archetype have been Machina Gearframe and Machina Fortress, which form an extremely formidable resource loop by 2010 standards. Nowadays, however, they've seen next to zero play, aside from occasional inclusion in extremely greedy Week 1 Orchest builds, and considering the remainder of their cards are Commander Covington levels of playable, it seems unlikely they'll ever be anything other than an entry in a history of the meta article. Until now! The release of the Machina structure deck has two notable inclusions. Firstly, every one-card Halka-Fibrax engine under the sun and a suspicious lack of Halk itself. And secondly, Machina Citadel, a quick-effect Raigeki under certain circumstances. While the playables in the structure end there, we can incorporate some new Machina and INFINITRACK support to be released in Eternity Code to assemble a well-oiled machine with devastatingly powerful resource loops, OTK potential, and yes, big heckin' chonkers. The weakness of current train strategies has always been that it's extremely one-note, and if your OTK is removed from the field, it can be hard to equalize against decks more adept at crafting card advantage. More consistent access to Dozer and Citadel setups should change that. And if you don't believe me, I invite you to read Anger Knuckle. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, our Machina, 1 Citadel and 3 Metal Crunch. Next are the train holdovers, and I am pleased to report we are finally free from the hell that is Night Express Knight, 3 Bullet Train and 3 Daracrane. Finally, for INFINITRACKs, we're on 3 Dozer, 3 Harvester, and, because I do not fear God, 1 Trencher. We're also on a Pegasus for some extremely funny switchyard lines, though notably, you can play 3 of this card if you're interested in making VFD more often. And finally, what I believe to be the best hand trap in the format, 3 DD Crow. For spells, we're on 3 Redeployment, the Machina Searcher, 3 Heavy Forward, the INFINITRACK Searcher, 3 Revolving Switchyard, 1 Terraforming, 3 Urgent Schedule, 3 Called by the Grave, and 3 Machina Overdrive. In the extra, we're on a 7 Sins, 2 Liba, 2 Dora, 2 Gustav, Sky Palace, VFD, Stormer, Genius, Pensatag, 2 Anger Knuckle, and a Goliath. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Lightsworn, and oh, surprised to see a train deck blinding first, are you? Well, you should have left your prejudices at the door. Let me show you what this list is capable of. We're going to lead with a copy of Reformation, adding a copy of Machina Metal Crunch to our hand alongside an Overdrive. We're going to use Metal Crunch's effect to get a copy of Speeding Bullet. Afterwards, we're going to activate the effect of Brutalozer, special summoning it and a Trencher from deck. We'll overlay for a copy of River Stormer and use its effect to send a Citadel to the graveyard. Next, we'll link summon a Goliath, use Daracrane and Speeding Bullet to overlay for a Dora, and then use the Trencher effect in graveyard to bring back Brutalozer, link summon an Anger Knuckle, and trigger Goliath's effect, putting it under the Dora. We'll activate the effect of Overdrive in graveyard and draw a card, set 3, passing it back to our opponent. At end step, we'll use Bullet Train to get this Dozer back in the hand for next turn. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Twin Twister. Thankfully, they target 2 cards we can chain. We'll activate Called by the Grave and activate Overdrive, so we get a copy of Metal Crunch to our side of the field, and after resolution, a Citadel as well. Our opponent is going to continue their plays after we use the effect of Metal Crunch to add a copy of Daracrane to hand, and they're going to charge the Light Brigade for a Raiden. They'll Raiden effect, and what do you know, in their 60-card deck they hit a Wolf, but we will Citadel to wipe them both, and at end step pop that last remaining card with the Daracrane under our Dora. From here, it should be an easy coast to victory. We'll activate Anger Knuckle and special summon a Daracrane. No reason not to play around Nibiru. We'll get in for 15, 14, 3k, and well over lethal. Our second match is up against Sacred Beast. Unfortunately, this is the direction I expect Sacred Beast to pivot in the coming months, an extremely cool series of monsters and combo setups that serve their true master, Dragoon. We're going first once again, and we've opened largely the same hand, this time without Machinas. We're going to normal summon a Harvester to get a copy of Brutal Dozer, whose effect we will activate to summon a Trencher from deck. Afterwards, we'll overlay for a copy of River Stormer and activate its effect. This time we will add a copy of Daracrane to hand before link summoning a Goliath, summoning both the Daracrane and this copy of Bullet Train. We'll overlay for a copy of Door, then activate Trencher's effect to bring back Harvester, and then link summon an Anger Knuckle, putting the Goliath under the Dora, setting 2 and passing back. At end step, we will activate the effect of Dora so we can get this Brutal Dozer back in our hand. Our opponent draws a Sacred Beast. They're going to lead with an instant fusion on Thousand Eyes Restrict. They're going to Thousand Eyes our Anger Knuckle. We'll chain the Anger Knuckle to get a copy of Speeding Express Bullet Train to our field. They'll go into Link Rebo and normal summon a Dark Beckoning Beast. Unfortunately, we can't really pop this on activation, so they'll normal summon a copy of Chaos Summoning Beast, at which point we will pop with Daracrane. They're going to 1 for an effect. Veiler will activate Urgent Schedule because they have slightly more monsters on field than us, and they'll activate 7 Spirit Gates' second effect, to which we will chain Called by the Grave. They'll go into an Almirage and a Verte Anaconda, and this is going to be super poly, isn't it? Yep, there is a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, but that's no big deal. They'll attack over my monster, but Citadel returns in main phase 2. We'll activate the effect of Citadel in response to the effect of Verte Anaconda. They'll activate the effect of Almirage, and I think Citadel fails to resolve for some reason, probably because there's no applicable targets. We'll activate Citadel immediately, destroying our entire board, then Railroad Stampede for a Heavy Freight Train Daracrane. We'll switch them both to 10, go to Gustav Max, and our opponent will concede. So, it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Eldritch Invoked, and oh, quit groaning, I can hear you. It's either this or Ad Emancipator, and I'm not sitting through those combos, no matter how much ad revenue they make me. Our opponent's going first, and honestly, I'm okay with that. They're going to lead with a copy of Eldlixir Black Awakening for the big golden boy before setting 3 and passing. Okay, this hand is miraculous. We're going to lead with a copy of Metal Crunch. We'll activate its effect. It's going to eat an infinite impermanence. Oh no, how will I find Brutal Dozer now? Maybe with Heavy Forward? We'll Brutal Dozer and then chain Urgent Schedule to get a Citadel and a Harvester to our side of the field, followed by a Brutal Dozer and a Trencher. We're going to special summon this Daracrane in chain as well, so we have 5 material on our side of the board. Next, we'll overlay for a River Stormer and use its effect to get a copy of Bullet Train. We'll go into a Goliath and overlay for Gustav Max, digging our opponent for 2,000 and popping one of those back row. It's Guardian of the Golden Land. That's great news because that's interaction we don't have to worry about. Next, we'll use Trencher to bring back Brutal Dozer so we can link summon an Anger Knuckle. We'll put Goliath under our copy of Liba, then use Anger Knuckle for a 10, special summon this copy of Bullet Train and go into a second Gustav Max, dinging our opponent again. We'll pop their last remaining card and get in for lethal. So, it's time for game 2, and yeah, this hand is a lot worse than our last one. This Urgent Schedule basically has to resolve if we want any chance of winning this. Thankfully, our opponent's grip isn't fantastic as well, though they may be able to draw out of it with this copy of Spellbook of Secrets. They'll lead with a copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician, then an Elixir for a copy of Conquistador. They'll then activate Spellbook of Secrets for Knowledge, and what do they find? Shoot, okay. Well, we are going to have to contend with the Invoked part of the deck this time. They're going to A-lister for an Invocation before link summoning an Almirage and a Secure Gardena. Next, they'll activate Invocation, and we chain DD Crow. It fizzles. They activate the Graveyard effect of Invocation, and reveal that they have another one. Okay, well, it was worth a shot. They're going to go into Eldritch and then set 1 card before passing it back to us, and ooh, no cards in hand. We might just get away with this. We'll activate Urgent Schedule to get a copy of Harvester and a Daracrane before activating Brutal Dozer's effect to get a copy of Trencher. Our opponent's going to activate Conquistador here, and yeah, this is pretty bad. We're going to go into Goliath, bring back Harvester, I use Harvester's effect, we'll make 7 sins, wipe our opponent's board, and oh, right, we're locked into Earth Machines. Okay, well, my big mistake here is not making Anger Knuckle. Just think how much easier this would be if I had that. Our opponent's going to eat basically our entire board here. At the very least, it enables a copy of Urgent Schedule at end step, which thankfully they have a trap in hand and aren't able to negate. We get a Citadel, which will be important for clearing the board in future turns, and a copy of Harvester. Okay, we still might be able to do this. We're going to Brutal Dozer, they're going to Golden Land forever, that's fine. We're going to Bullet Train, they're going to Scarlet Sanguine, not that big of a deal. We're going to special summon that Bullet Train and then overlay for a Gustav Max. We will activate the effect, doming them for 2k before going into Liba, using its effect and proceeding to battle phase. They'll activate Guardian of the Golden Land, but ooh, you need Eldritch on your side of the field for that to be effective. We get to activate Bullet Train at end step, and things are shockingly looking okay. Our opponent's going to activate Scarlet Sanguine for, I believe, the last Conquistador, then Eldritch, to which we respond with a Called by the Grave, Eldritch's mortal enemy. They're going to set 2 cards and pass it back to us. We have to find a way to punch through. If only we had made Anger Knuckle! They're going to Scarlet Sanguine for another copy of Eldland and destroy our monster with their Conquistador, proccing the effect of both the Daracrane and the Citadel. While we go for the Citadel, they're going to Infinite Impermanence it, so we're only going to be able to use it to walk over the Eldland. In main phase 2, we're going to use Gustav Max's effect and Daracranes to pop one of our opponent's several remaining cards before leaving them on just a single copy of Guardian and us on a Liba. They're going to go ahead and set a Haketo. They draw 1 for turn as well. They'll Eldritch, and I'm sorry, we just drew 2 Called by the Grave. They're going to set 1 card, and God, we could do it. We could do it! For turn, we have to draw something, and Ooh, that's a really good one. We're going to Terraforming for a revolving switchyard. They're going to Scarlet Sanguine here in order to get a copy of Eldritch the Golden Lord. We're going to switchyard for a copy of Bullet Train. We'll special the Bullet Train, go to battle phase, attack over the Eldland. They use a Hakera we didn't know. It's once per turn, so we can sack our board for the Bullet Train lethal. So we're back with the deck, and hey, anything that can beat Eldritch at this point in time is worth consideration. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. This is far and away the best version of Infinitrack trains that's ever existed. It's more consistent than last year's build, it's more explosive than last format's Shadow variants, and it's more recursive than at any time it lacked Anger Knuckle. 2. It's got a miraculous ability to turn the corner. As soon as you've finished playing the advantage game and can start your turn with Anger Knuckle activations, it's a hop, skip, and a jump towards Gustav Liba setups. And 3, like Madolche, it is extremely easy to underestimate this deck's grind game. All it takes is one opponent's turn switchyard into Pegasus into speeding to find out just how hard it is to clear this deck's boards. And the cons. 1, it is not good at dealing with Nibiru. Unlike other decks with this weakness, this one's isn't particularly telegraphed, but if you launch Dwayne at the earliest possible opportunity before Dora hits the field, there's almost no way to avoid getting rocked. 2, the setup combo has some pretty critical choke points. You can hard draw extenders, of course, but a well-deployed Ash Blossom can easily throw a wrench into your plans. And 3, it's very monster effect reliant. This can make playing into decks like Dragon Link and Adamancipator a disaster. Often your opponent can just stop you in your tracks from the first 2 pieces of negation. What's more, you've, basically got no out to Mystic Mine. All in all, this deck's a blast. It's fun, it's powerful, and it can clearly be built to mitigate its very visible weaknesses. I would expect this to be, at minimum, rogue playable after Eternity Code, but wouldn't be surprised if it's much better than that. So that's that. Thanks to my patrons, MeepMoto27, Tyler Slacks, Mika Reichman, Crispy, Sir Tachyon, Lucas Hansen, Schnappy, Lavender Lemonade, Gusto Secon, Siberian Rabbit, Michael Oskavarik, Dan the Man Hoban, Blah, Blake Root, Standards Objective, Jeff Leonard, Emperor Stove, TJ Steakhouse, Pro Yugi Dad, Picnic Blasted, Burrito Man 93, Fighting Fanglong, Donnie Fillerup, Adam Sunquist, Isaac Jackson, Second Lucas Geardis, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Distrin, and others. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.